The first thing investigators noticed wasn't the money, it was the phone number. Every call came from the same region. Every text arrived on the same schedule. Morning, afternoon, late at night. Like a normal relationship. That's what made it convincing. She believed she was talking to a man named Patrick, someone she met online. Someone who asked about her day, remembered small details, and stayed on the phone until she fell asleep. By the time he mentioned money, the relationship already felt real. At first, it was a small problem, a temporary situation. He needed help covering an expense he couldn't access himself. He sounded embarrassed asking, reluctant, grateful when she agreed. That mattered, because it didn't feel like a scam. It felt like helping someone you cared about. Over the next few weeks, the requests became more frequent, not larger all at once, just more urgent. A deadline, a fee, a situation he said he couldn't explain over the phone. And every time she hesitated, he didn't pressure her. He withdrew. Shorter replies, less warmth, just enough distance to make her worry she was losing him. So she sent the money, not because she believed the story completely, but because she didn't want the relationship to disappear. There was one detail that never quite made sense. They never used video. He always had a reason, a broken camera, a restricted connection, a place where video wasn't allowed. It sounded strange, but not impossible. And once you've invested time, emotion, and money into someone, strange becomes acceptable. What she didn't know was that Patrick wasn't where he said he was. He wasn't traveling. He wasn't working overseas. He wasn't dealing with a temporary emergency. He was serving time in a federal prison in the Midwest. The phone he used wasn't supposed to exist. A contraband device passed between inmates, used in short windows, hidden between calls. From that phone, he maintained multiple relationships at the same time. Different names, different stories, same script. Investigators later found that the timing of the messages lined up with prison movement schedules. Calls stopped during counts. Texts appeared after lights out. The pattern wasn't romantic, it was logistical. To him, the conversations weren't personal. They were structured, predictable, repeatable. He asked the same questions, used the same phrases, created the same emotional progression: connection, trust, financial emergency. And it worked because it was consistent. By the time the phone number was traced back to the facility, the relationship had been going on for months, long enough that the truth didn't immediately break the illusion. Even when she was told where the calls were coming from, her first reaction wasn't anger. It was confusion, then denial, because accepting the reality meant accepting that every conversation, every reassurance, every plan for the future had been part of a system. Investigators documented multiple victims connected to the same device, payments sent under different explanations, the same emotional language repeated across conversations. It wasn't a relationship, it was a workflow. And that's the part most people misunderstand about scams like this. They imagine manipulation as aggressive or obvious. But this wasn't pressure, it was routine. Daily messages, predictable attention, gradual dependence. Nothing that felt dangerous in the moment, until the pattern was visible from the outside. From inside the relationship, it looked like care. From the outside, it looked like a script. Patrick never needed to leave his cell. He never needed to meet anyone. He never needed to create a real life. He only needed a phone, time, and a system that turned emotional investment into money. And the longer the conversations lasted, the harder it became for the victims to separate the person they thought they knew from the operation that actually existed. That's why cases like this don't end when the truth is revealed. Because the financial loss is only part of it. The larger loss is realizing that the relationship, the daily routine, the emotional support, the sense of being understood, was engineered, not for connection, for extraction. And if you think you would recognize that immediately, you're assuming you would be looking for a scam. Most victims aren't. They're looking for a relationship,